Hello. Hi, everyone. Good day, good afternoon, whatever part of the world that you joined us from. Hi. I can see Kale's response. Hi, Kale. How are you today? Can you kindly let us know where you're joining in from? That would be great. So just introduce yourself. Anyways, it's important to just write your name because I know some people use some email address or names that are not exactly their name to sign up on their YouTube or whatever platform it is that you're joining us from. So just drop your name and where you're joining us from. So if you're joining us from the UK, just say I'm Kenny from the UK. I'm Kenny from Lagos. So while we do that, I assume that you are here because you are somebody that is intentional about thriving and you are like deliberate. So you call yourself a thriverpreneur. You call yourself somebody that is intentional about not just doing things the way every other person does it, but you're deliberate about wanting to do several things and be excellent at it. Good job if you are in that category. And if you're not in that category yet, don't bother your head too much. By the end of this session, at the end of the session, you are going to be inducted into our community, the community of thrivers, people that are intentional and deliberate about thriving. And this platform or this event is hosted by Army Grace Foundation. And Army Grace Foundation is a community that is deliberate about women entrepreneurs who are very intentional about change. So they are not just one mediocre entrepreneur. They are people that are deliberate about ensuring that they are serving their target audience rightly. They are doing everything they have to do well and at the right time in the right way. There are people that are not left behind. That's why we have this Tribe seminar series. We have this series where we teach several topics that touch on different pain points of an entrepreneur. We do not leave out the people that are also employees that are intending entrepreneurs. So if you are in that category, there are some people that are employees and entrepreneurs. This platform is also for you. We cater for you, we care for you. And yes, we are a feminine platform, like a female platform, but we don't close our doors to guys. So if you are a guy or if you know a friend, a male friend that is also interested in developing himself, he can be part of this great program to this seminar series that we are doing. Yes, I can see relationship. Um, I can see some. Yes, Selma from Scotland. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So great. Before we start the proper class, which is what we are all waiting for, I want to just ask, how many things do you do, and are you sure that you're productive at it? I'm very sure that so many people don't have an 100% answer to that. Because if you have that answer, then why are you here? So we're all here to learn to do better things. Personally, I know that I have struggled with productivity at some point. I thought I was doing it correctly, but I know that at the end of this class, I'm going to learn, unlearn, and relearn a lot of things about productivity. And I trust Dr. Amarachi because she's a game on this productivity level, like she's senior class. And right now, I will be opening up the stage and just allowing Dr. Mara to do her thing. Let her do what she knows how to do best. And she'll be teaching us on productivity, how I juggle so many things and stay very productive. So Dr. Amarachi is a senior lecturer. She's a wife, she's a mother, she's a coach. She does a lot of things. She's an entrepreneur. Like sometimes when I like when I met her initially, I was like, Ma, how do you do all these things and you're very excellent at it? And she's like, there's a code. Sometimes when she tells me something, I'm like, what? I can't even think of planning this schedule or doing something and doing something. So she's gonna share out some of these things that has worked for her and making her very productive. So Dr. Amarachi, over to you, Ma. Our notes and bios are with us. Our iPads and everything we want to take notes are with us. So over to you, Ma.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kenny. I don't know if everyone can hear me okay. I want to thank you for this wonderful opportunity, and it's great to see everyone who is joining in on the chat. I can see all our friends and other thrivers as well joining in. So it's great to have you all. So before I commence, I want to ask Kenny, how long is this supposed to be for so that I don't overshoot my time? Is that okay? If you let me know, please. But am I clear enough? Can everyone hear me? That's the most
Yes, you can
important.
hear it very, very well. And you have 30 minutes to talk like teachers, then you could take questions.
Okay, okay, that's fine. I would have preferred more of a Q&A session, but since we're doing it this way, it's still okay. So I'm happy to do this. I'll share my screen now, if that's okay with everybody. Just give me a moment to just okay. Okay, can everyone see my screen? If you can kindly give me like a thumbs up on the chat, just so I know that you can see my screen and you can hear me okay. Okay, great. So I've been tasked with, I've been saddled with this responsibility of talking about how I juggle so many things and stay productive. Now, 30 minutes will not be enough for me to do justice to this, but I will try as much as possible to squeeze in as much as I can during today's session. And please, can you also let me know on the chat? I like the fact that the chat is buzzing. Let me know what your expectations are from this session. If you've got any questions, please do put them as well on the chat. I would want to see those questions as well. So if you just want to populate your questions on the chat, I can pick that up as I go on. I would try to list this a bit more with some examples. Well, that would kind of drive home the point to some extent. So hopefully you will find this really, really, really useful. Okay. So let me start by highlighting the first slide, which is talking about the three key principles of being productive. Okay. I want to focus a little bit on this because a lot of times we talk about being productive, but we do not really sit down to carefully consider how we can be effectively productive. So technology alone would not make you more productive, okay? But using technology in a way that's based on timeless principles that never change regardless of technology can make you really effective. So for example, you know, looking at your calendar, your contacts, for example, your task, where you need to go. Okay. So again, I want to ask you, what brand of phone are you using? What its operating system? All of this doesn't it doesn't really matter, to be honest. Okay. It doesn't matter as the commitment you make to live these timeless principles that I have just shown you here on the slide. Okay. Space, mind, and time. So these three key principles, and I will try as much as possible to unpack them. Okay. I know I'm short for time, but I'll try as much as possible to squeeze in as much as I can during today's session. So the next time you think about, oh, I want to buy a new tool, oh, I want to buy a new phone, oh, I need to install this new app. Okay. The question you should be asking yourself is, how productive will this make me? Okay. That's the question you should ask yourself. So It is all dependent on how well you live according to the principles of effective time management. Okay. It's the habit you're developing and where you need to see lasting change going forward. So I would want to ask you this question, and the question is on my next slide. And please just let me know on the chat what your response to this question would be. What would you do with an extra 10 hours a week? Okay, just let me know on the chat. What would you do if you had an extra 10 hours? How would you spend this time? Okay, because the reason why I asked this question is that this is going to be a huge motivation for you for the future. What would your life look like, once you have reached a certain point, for example? Okay, so it is really important that you crystallize this and put it on the chat. Okay, I know that some people are thinking, and I'm not looking away from the screen, I'm just looking away from to another device so that it helps me, see the chat going as well. So it is really important that you tell me, what would you do if you had an extra 10 weeks, 10 hours a week? Because a lot of times people tell themselves, oh, I don't have time. I don't have time. That's why I've not been able to do this. I've not been able to do that. Okay, so if you gain at least an extra 10 hours a week of increased productivity in your schedule, what would you do with that? Okay, what would you want to give up on your current schedule now to gain an additional hour? Okay, so I'm looking at it, okay, 10 hours. Some people might be saying, oh, that's a lot. Okay, what would you do now to gain an additional hour a week? What would you do to gain an additional 2 hours a week? Okay, so I need you to think about this carefully. Okay, because if you have an extra 10 hours, what will you do? How would you allocate this effectively? This is such an important question. Okay. I've seen on the chat 10 hours a week. Have not finished using 24 hours. Okay. That's interesting. Selma is saying, watch Netflix, take up additional work hours and rest. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. So today I just want us to I would try to approach this from a very critical point standpoint, because I know some of us might not be used to this, but if you just would allow me just a couple of minutes just to break some things down, because there are a lot of myths that we have in our mind for so many years, and we've carried this myth from year on we've taken on this, and we just made an assumption. Some of us had made a doctrine out of it, and we feel that, oh, I don't think I'm able to manage time effectively, or 24 hours is not even enough for me to complete my task. Okay. Now, let me just ask you this question, because a lot of times people talk about this. What you hear most times is that people talk about multitasking. I want to multitask. I'm multitasking. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Let me just say that in reality, what people are actually doing is what is known as switch tasking. Okay, not multitasking. Okay. A lot of times people talk about the fact that, oh, I need to multitask. So, say for example, um, at work, I'm doing my emails, I'm picking the phone call, I'm responding to another colleague who's just walked in through the door, right? And we call that multitasking, effective multitasking, some people call it, right? But I think that most times when we talk about multitasking, what we tend to do is what is known as switch tasking. Okay. So we need to cover these three main things. So it takes a lot of time for you to switch task. Okay. So if you're saying that you're multitasking, basically what you're doing is that you're going back and forth rapidly different tasks, and that is known as switch tasking. It's not multitasking. Okay. The one thing that is so obvious when you switch task is the amount of time it takes you to complete a particular task. Okay. So you think you're switch tasking because you want to gain time, but in reality, you're switch tasking and you're losing time. Okay. In your mind, you think you're multitasking, but you're not multitasking, you're only switch tasking. Okay. So you're spending a lot of time to complete a task because you are switching in between tasks. Okay. So that's consuming the time that you need to complete a particular task. Now, I would say, for example, I've just given you an instance of, say, typing an email, me talking to a colleague, for example, and also being on the phone. Okay. and I would say, oh yes, I'm switch tasking. I'm multitasking. That's the word. I'm multitasking, right? But if you ask yourself, if you can pause and do one thing at a time, you will find that you will spend less time doing a particular task, and you will achieve even more um, effectiveness in terms of you completing that task. Okay, so that's something I thought I should mention. So think about all the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, and you call that multitasking. Okay, and do an assessment of those things. I really want you guys to do an assessment. So begin to write down the things that you multitask every single day. You go to work, you're trying to juggle your work, you're juggling maybe a side project that you're engaged on, and you're doing so many things at the same time. Okay, just jot down all the things that you have apportioned and you are saying in your mind, I am multitasking on this. I want you to begin to write all of them down. Okay, now, if you can begin from tomorrow and to trial out what I'm about to say, so try to complete one task before you go on to another task, rather than having to do all of those, the task, put everything together in one pot all at the same time to complete. Okay, just trial it, and this would really, really work. Okay, let me use my own personal experience, for example, right? So a lot of times, and like Kenny just introduced me, I am a lecturer at one of the UK universities, and I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I have a charity organization that I'm running, I have a business, and I've got a family, both extended families. And you mean, now think about the fact that a lot of times you go to work, your phone is on, your emails are coming through, the WhatsApp messages are coming through, okay? The text messages are coming through, and then you've got a call, maybe from your mom or my dad, all at the same time, right? Now, there is no way I would be effective on my job if I go switching task every single time. Okay. And some of you might say, oh, it's impossible, but that's life. That's how we live. Yes, but I would show you, going forward, how we can actually break these things down. Rather than switch tasking, we begin to multitask. Okay. Now, we also have that the quality of work decreases, and then your stress level increases. So these are the three things that would happen to you. Okay. So looking at the quality of your work, when you switch task, basically, your work reduces, you're making mistakes, so the tendency for you to make mistakes increases. Okay, so think about, and if I should ask you, how many times have you actually delegated a task to someone? Because a lot of times we are wired to believe that if I do this task, I'll do it well. If I delegate it, it's not going to be done well, it's going to be done poorly. Okay, when was the last time you delegated something for somebody to do? Okay, now they might make some mistakes when you do that. Okay, but that's something you must be prepared to embrace. Okay, people might not think the way you think, people might not be wired the way you're wired. Okay, but if you keep on switch tasking, okay, this will definitely in no time reveal your incompetence. Okay, so it is really important that you really go through the process of simplifying your task on a day-to-day basis, because this exacerbates stress. Okay, it increases your stress level. Okay, even with so many time saving devices people have around them, okay, we could be more stressed, and we could even be starved for time more and more. So it is really important that we look at the fact that it is not about switch tasking, it should be more about multitasking. And think about those things that you actually label multitasking. Are they multitasking, or are you actually switch tasking? Okay, now, let me delve into the next slide. And here I want to talk more a little bit about the how we can be more productive, because that is the crux of today's conversation, right? We really need to stay productive. So, in order for us to gain focus, to find more time, there are three main areas we are going to cover. We're going to cover space, we're going to cover mind, and we're going to cover time. Now, these three areas are I don't know, they're so extensive, but I'll try to squeeze it down as much as I can, and give some examples that you guys can relate to. And please feel free on the chat to chime in and let me know what you guys think as well. Okay. So these three things are critical to you being productive and staying productive. They are so important. So I will take them in turns and I will try to give you some subsections underneath each one of them. So let's take the first one, which is space. Now, let me ask you guys a question, okay? How well are you using your personal space, the personal space that you have right now? How well do you use it? Okay? What are the key gathering points in your personal space? How have you managed them? Okay? It is very important that you think about your gathering points, okay? And how you make switches, how you coordinate between those points, okay? And it is important that you have as little as possible the gathering points that you have around you. You have to put it. Now, some of you might be asking, what exactly is a gathering point? Because I can just hear that, aloud, even though we're not physically in the same room. But I'm sure some people in their mind just asking, what exactly is she talking about? What is gathering point? Okay, let me break this down a little bit and try to explain it. Now, a gathering point is any place where things that are unresolved are kept. Okay. This is, and when I talk about unresolved items, I talk about items that you have not processed. Okay. So things like piles of paper, for example. Okay. I'll just give you, some day-to-day examples, like stack of bills, receipts, right? Those are unprocessed. You could have like a drawer filled with miscellaneous items, really, like bits and bobs from different things that you do in life generally. Okay, you just chuck them in there, you keep them. It could even be your email box, for example. That's also a gathering space. So your email box is another example. Your voicemail box, if you use it, that could also be an example. Okay, and you could have things stuffed in your pocket. So some bits of very important papers or paperwork, like your receipts, your invoices, they're constantly stuck in your pocket. You haven't quite processed them. So all of these things are considered gathering points. So I don't know if I made that clear. Okay, so it is very important that you go through the process of minimizing or reducing the number of gathering points that you have. Really, really important. It's really crucial. If you want to stay organized, if you want to be productive, okay, this will reduce the switches you experience, okay, and it will also help to gain time and use time more effectively. Okay, so far so good. I want you guys to let me know on the chat that you guys are following. I know it might sound a little bit like a lecture, but I feel that I really need to put this across because a lot of times we don't spend time to talk about things like this. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is your mind. Okay, that's the second thing I want to talk about. So, this is another fundamental principle. Okay, how do you clear your mind? How do you keep your mind clear? Apologies, there's been a typo on the slide. Okay, but ignore that. Okay, so how do you clear your mind? How do you declutter your mind? Okay, a lot of people use their mind as a gathering point, and I thought it's really important to mention that. So people tend to keep information all stored up in their mind. Say, "Oh, I will remember it. I've made a note. I've made a mental note of it." Okay, some people do that. I've made a mental note of what I'm going to do. Okay, so think about the things that you have done, the things that you're thinking about processing from your mind. And I think that you are giving your mind so much to do, so much to process. So when this happens, you're definitely allowing all your to-dos, all your tasks, all your projects to swirl around your head. They're just swirling round around your head. You're just thinking about, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. There's nothing, that's all just popping on your mind, really. Okay, so in the last 1 hour that we had with you before you came into the on this particular life, now think about the things that you have been processing. And some people right now, they're right here, but in on their mind they're processing so many things. Oh, I need to cook dinner, I need to do this, I need to do that. There's a lot of things you're processing, so you're not even in the present now. Your mind is not really here like 100%. Okay, so you have a lot of things that you have gathered in your mind and you're still processing it even right now, that you need to take a lot of value from this. Okay, so just think about that. And it's really important because a lot of times in life, it's difficult for us not to be bogged down by the things that we are facing in life, right? And it being a wife, for example, right? Every time you go out, yes, you're going to work, But at some point in your day, you also need to think about, oh, what's dinner going to be like? Going to pick up my son from school. Oh, I need to do this. I need to do that. Oh, Christmas is coming. I need to sort out this. I need to sort out that. And maybe your sister or your mom or your uncle has asked a favor from you. All of that is playing on your mind as well, right? I'm not saying that we should lose our mind and completely like control deletes what's on our mind, which again might be very difficult, but it's just finding ways to effectively use our mind, okay, put it into work and declutter our mind from those day-to-day basic mundane tasks. And I'll give you some practical examples on how you can do that, maybe some instances. And please, on the chat, feel free to let me know what you do on a day-to-day basis to declutter your mind from work, and I will show you. I'll definitely give you some steps as well right here. Okay, a mind that is filled with a lot of action item is a mind that will be constantly in a state of switching. And this is something I just want to establish. Okay, remember when we started off, we say, what's the difference between multitasking and switch tasking? This is what happens when you tell yourself you're multitasking by making a mental note of all of these things. Basically, your mind will now be in a constant state of switching. Okay, and that way it will be inefficient, will be very stressful for you. You will not be effective. And this is indeed a recipe for a lot of mistakes. Okay. So you need to find ways to declutter your mind. Sometimes, even when people sleep, they are not even at a state of rest. And I don't know if that applies to some people watching right now, because a lot of people are sleeping, but they're in bed, but they're in their mind, they're thinking, their mind is away. They're not really there. And in the morning, when they wake up, they're still thinking about the things that I need to do. I need to do this, I need to do that, and I need to do a lot of things. Now, let me quickly go on because I have my eyes on the clock and I don't want to overshoot. Okay. The next thing is time. Okay. And time, I mean, this section would have been a part one and part two. Maybe this first part would just be like giving you all of these practicals, and then part two will be the application. But I'll try as much as possible because I'm limited. I only got 30 minutes, so I might not be able to go through with a lot of examples in depth. Okay. So time. Now, this is the third and final principle. Okay. How do you deal with your time? Okay. How do you focus on what is most valuable to you every single day, every waking day of your life? How do you focus on what is? So there are a lot of ideas, a lot of opportunities that compete with your time every day. How do you stay productive if you haven't quite mastered the skill of making conscious choices about what you need to focus your time on? Because this is really important. This is crucial. Okay. There are a lot of things that you need to do, but you need to have the mastery of a skill of setting boundaries. You need to be able to set boundaries to protect the attention of those things that you need to focus on. Okay. And that's your time. You really need to. So you can do this. This begins with you identifying what it's known as the MVAs, your MVAs. Okay. And some of you might be asking, what is MVAs? MVAs is your most valuable activities. What are your most valuable activities on a day-to-day basis? And then you need to create, if you look at time as money, what you have to do is, if you have identified your MVA activities, then what you do is to create a budget of time for those activities. Okay, so you actually budget, you actually have, okay, this is the portion I'm going to allocate this activity because it is one of my most valuable activities, and then you apportion it. So on a daily basis, how much of my time will go towards that activity? Okay, really important, because this includes even things that sometimes we don't factor a lot of things into our time. So some people factor very important things like their job, like those things that bring money. For example, let me use that word, like the business, the entrepreneurs, they focus on their business and all of that, but people don't actually factor in time for rest. People don't factor in time for quality time with loved ones. Okay, so when I talk about your MVAs, it's important, and it's differs from person to person, right? What could be your most valuable activity could be different from somebody else and could be different from mine. But the key thing here is you identifying your most valuable activity, and then you budget time, allocate time for those activities. I don't know if that makes sense, but I will just keep cracking on. Now, How many gathering points do you have? I did say to you to make an assessment of your gathering points. So tell me, how many gathering points do you have? Because remember, it's all about your space. It's all about protecting your space. Really, that's what is really important. And I really want you guys to tell me what is what are your gathering points? How many gathering points? If you make a list of your gathering points, what would they be? What do they look like? I really want to know, guys. So if you've got like emails, piles of paper on your drawers, your handbag, your files, your folders. Some people have got one handbag for their phones, and they got another handbag, and some people have a laptop bag. So all of these are gathering points, right? And then you have your emails. So how many emails have you got all opened up on your phones? How many, just let me know what your gathering points, what do they like? Estimate, just give me an estimate of your gathering points. I really want to know what they are. If you can just pop them on the chat. So how many, if you count them, how many would they be? Okay. So remember that your gathering point is any place where you gather unprocessed information. Okay, so I've just given you an example: your emails, your task, your to-do list, your ideas, your busy work, your assignments, your projects, so on and so forth, depending on what you do. Okay, so these are some examples of your gathering point. Okay, so when you're talking about unprocessed items, we mean that these are items that you haven't clearly decided what you're going to do with it, where you're going to do it, and where you're going to do it, and how you want to do it. So these items are not processed because you haven't found a home for these items yet. Okay, so that's what I want to know. Someone saying over 10, 8. Okay, that's interesting. I'm sure some people might be able to chime in. So I really want to know what your gathering points look like. Okay, because I think this is the crux of the issue. Because if you can identify and locate where the items at within your gathering point, and how you can cut back on some of your gathering points, that is going to help you to save time. Okay, so it is very important that you identify them. Okay, if it's on your desk, how many gathering points do you have on your desk? Okay, some people, when you look on their desk, it's really, really a mess, and there's no way you can be productive. There's no way you can think clearly and be effective when you've got that everything going on your desk. Okay, so it is very important that you identify your gathering point. Now, I would have spent a bit more time giving an activity on this, but let me just carry on and talk about some of the approved gathering points. Okay, now, the number one is your physical box. So everybody needs a physical box, right? That's the first gathering point. Okay. So in order for you to manage your time effectively, you need to minimize the number of switches you're making in a day. Okay. Switching between different tasks. You need to minimize this. Okay. You need to strive to have at least 6 gathering points. Okay, approved gathering points. Okay, it could be less. I mean, the less you've got, the more effective you are. Okay, so but sometimes we cannot do without some of these things I have mentioned here on the slide. So that's why I have populated them. So the first one is your physical box. So when I talk about the physical box, this is where you put everything that is unprocessed physically, papers, all of those things. You put them in your physical box: your receipts, your magazines, your book, even your cables, your cords, things that you haven't put away. You need to find a physical box that can fit in everything into that box. Okay, remember, you don't want to ever get it too full. Okay, so you also need to look out for how you can get a reasonable sized box. Okay, the second one is your portable box. Okay, and this is simply your mobile extension of your inbox. Basically, it is something you take with you everywhere you go. Okay, it could be like a folder, and I'll give you example of some of those sort of things when I take them in turns. So remember that it is not something that is expected to fill up your briefcase or your handbag. It is something portable. Okay, as the name suggests, it's portable. Okay, a spot within your handbag, maybe in your pockets. You could have a planner or something. Some people can fit it in. They have a very small portable inbox. So that's something you might want to think about. The third thing is your notepad. Okay, a lot of people are not in a habit. They want to remember everything because they say, oh, I think I can remember it. I'm making a mental note of it. Everyone needs a notepad. Okay, some people have got digital notepads. Some people actually have like a physical one, like one that you had, one hard copy. Okay, I'm more traditional. I prefer the hard copy notepad. Okay, so there are different sizes, there are different shapes, so it's up to you which one you want to get. Basically, this is where you make a note of some of the actions that you need to take. You're taking general notes, unprocessed ideas or actions that you need to take, you put them there. Okay, the fourth one is your email box. Okay, in this day and age, the way it is now, we all have multiple emails, right? Some people have Yahoo, Gmail, and two Gmails or three Gmails account, four Gmails account, and then we have it on and on and on and on. The question here is, you really need to think about your inbox. So, and how can you use that effectively? How can you put all of your inbox, put them into one inbox folder? Okay, this will help you saving time in checking different accounts. Okay, this can be done on your mobile device. It's just down to your settings, how you effectively do your settings. And then you can see all your unprocessed emails just at a glance, all your unread messages from all the emails just at a glance. This is more effective and typically really easy for you to do. Okay, if you can just make a few settings and a few adjustments on your phone. The fifth one is a voicemail. Well, in the part of the world where I am, we use this quite a lot, and so many people tend to use voicemails. And sometimes, depending on your nature of your job and how busy you are, your voicemail can sometimes explode. Okay, too many messages, and sometimes you don't even listen to them because you're so busy trying to catch up with other things that you don't pay attention to those. Okay, so these are the five different gathering points. I've just highlighted them. Let me show you what an inbox looks like. Okay, this is an inbox. Okay, I don't know which one is yours right now, your physical inbox. So which one is yours? Could you let me know on the chat which box is yours? Is it the first picture, A? Is it the middle one, B? Or is it the third one, C? So which box is actually yours? Could you let me know which one it is? So whilst you're writing it on the chat, your category is not here. So oh my goodness, that means it must be kind of really, really, really an interesting workspace for you to be in. Okay. So now let me just say that your inbox is where you get things organized on a day-to-day basis. Now, some people tend to visit their physical inbox on a weekly basis. I would say if you can reduce that to say every 2 days, if you haven't been in the habit of doing your inbox on a daily basis, if you want to reduce it, say to every 2 days, and then gradually you can start reducing it to every 24 hours, that will really be helpful. A lot of times, especially with the nature of my job, we work with a lot of papers, physical papers sometimes. And if you haven't stored them quite a lot, you can find out that you've just stacked up some papers that you have never quite processed for the last 1 year. And this is not good for your space. It's not good. Your space is really important and should be decluttered as much as you can. Okay, so you need to find, this is basically, like I said before, a home to all your unprocessed physical items. Okay, and it's better that you schedule a time in your calendar when you actually go and look into your physical inbox. It's really important that you have a time schedule and say, this is decluttering my physical inbox time. Okay, you have to schedule that on the calendar, or else it's not going to be done, never going to be done. Okay, let me just read some of the comments on the chat. Foundation Family said, it might seem a lot of work sorting out our gathering points, but oh, the comfort it brings. Absolutely, it brings so much comfort. I mean, when you just mentally speaking, you feel light, you feel wow, like you feel like I've done everything, and there's a feel good effect it brings. Yes, you're absolutely correct. I agree with you. Okay, so sometimes you clutter so much, as Kenny will say, so much rubbish, so much nonsense, that we keep it in the name of processing it later, and you never do, even for the next 1 year, and you don't realize how much impact it has on you physically. Okay, so let me just leave this because I'm sure all of you get the gist. Okay, now when I talk about a portable inbox, physical inbox, this is what it looks like. Some people have got this. Okay, just a simple notepad, and this is where they store in like business cards and things that they get when they go out there, and they can, come back home with it and then look at it and declutter it. So it's very important that you have a portable inbox. Okay, it could also be a mobile extension as well. Okay, and it's just basically you something that you can carry around easily. Your physical inbox might be too heavy for you to carry around, but your portable inbox is something that you always carry along with you every single place you go to. Okay, so it shouldn't be too large. Okay, it should just be, the word is portable. It should be portable, and make sure that you don't just chuck things there that you don't actually process out. Okay, at the end of the day, really important. So I'm going to move on because I don't have a lot of time. The next thing that I want to touch on is the notepad. Okay. And like I said, some people are very traditional. They just want to have like a simple notepad, pen, paper. Like me, I'm very traditional. I love my papers. Okay. And some people like the digital one. Okay. Where you can actually use your fingers and you can actually scribble, and it gives you that feel good of you making notes. So fine, you can do that. So basically, this helps you to jot down your ideas. It's a very flexible gathering point, I must say, very flexible one. And everyone should have a notepad. Okay, this is where basically you're jotting down your ideas quickly, all the actions you need to take quickly. Okay, and this basically, you could have written notes, you could have desired action, you could actually cluster them, and how do you put them in hierarchy? So which one is immediate, which one you prioritize your task, everything all there, all done. Okay, some people use what is known as the Padfolio, which is the digital type. Okay, so it's up to you if you want that. Some people tend to use the phone. So some mobile devices come with notepads as well. So you might want to use that. Okay, and they use the colors to differentiate which one is for example, I put red for very immediate task. I put yellow for a task that to do but not quite immediate, but has to be done as soon as possible. And then I put green for tasks that I could at least have another 24 hours to think on. Okay, so this should not be where you document your some people document ideas and all that, but it's very important that you prioritize them, put them in their order. What exactly is it? Is it an immediate one, or is it something to be done in future? Okay, I would have spent a bit of time talking about this particular one, but I think you guys get the gist, you get the point. So I would just move on to the next one, which is your email. Okay, so now the question is, how can I integrate multiple emails? Because a lot of people struggle with this, right? So you find a lot of people, they have like 536 notification. I used to have like over 1,500 notification. And sometimes just looking at that, I don't even want to open the emails. Now, some people are also in a habit of subscribing to so many things and so many websites that they don't even have a need for. And this clogs your email, your inbox. Now, just looking at the fact that you have 536 notifications that you have yet to even go through. Wow, it's a problem. Yes, you can color code them. Absolutely, you can color code them. But the thing is, how can you minimize this? It's a lot for you to process in 24 hours. That means you haven't been doing the work as you go on. Okay. Somebody who has been so effective in doing this so much, that's so close to me, is my husband. Most times I go on his email and I see null. Like I don't even see the symbol. Like there's no red, icon beeping on it. So it shows that it's all cleared. And I ask myself, how does he do this? And gradually I started to learn how to do it. Sometimes people always look at emails that you're supposed to respond to immediately, or you're supposed to action a couple of lines, and you don't do it. And now with the touch of technology, there are so many things that you could actually do with your emails. Yes, emails are scary indeed. Emails are so scary. Okay. So it is really important that you actually look at your emails and how you can integrate your multiple emails. Now, this in itself is a seminar on its own, and I don't want to go into the whole details of this. And I'll touch on it at some point. Maybe we'll have some subsequent seminars on how you can integrate your emails. And one of the things that somebody put on the chat is you color coding your emails, okay, which is good, prioritizing your emails. And there is a way you can also do it to get your emails to go into some boxes that you don't actually open up. Okay, could do that. And thank you for joining in. Thank you for joining in, Mr. Sunday Shobowale. Thank you for joining in. It's not late, but we appreciate you being here. Okay, now how can you then clear your mind? Because this is the foundation of every single thing. Your mind, your mind, your mind. How can you declutter your mind? Okay. Now, it is important that you think about developing a system on how you need to clear your mind of unresolved items. Really important. Okay. So there are so many things I have shared previously in terms of your gathering point. And please, guys, have a look on those, do the action plan on those things, and make sure you make yourself a mental picture of the things that you need to do in terms of your approved gathering points, because that is really important. Okay. Sometimes I make myself a picture and I make some notes and I hang it on the wall, and that reminds me of things that I need to do. Okay, maybe that's one way you can do it, and that could be another approved gathering point. So, if in my office I suddenly remember something in the course of my day, okay, I put it on a post-it note and I stick it up somewhere. I shouldn't allow my mind to wander and begin to think about that I'm no longer present on the current task. Okay, you could also have your notepad close to you. Make a note, because sometimes, interestingly speaking, the most amazing thoughts come to you when you're actually busy doing, being focused on something, right? It happens to me. I don't know if it happens to you guys, but have your notes pad next to you. Make a mental picture of it. Put a post-it or something. Just get someone to be you can be accountable to someone if you have, you have the means to get to hire an assistant, for example. You can get them to make the notes and take down all of those things. It's up to you. Okay. So it is very important that you also think about your gathering point in terms of your notepad. Make sure that you're clearing up your notepad. Your notepad should not just be a point where you gather a lot of things that you don't action, because that's what a lot of people tend to do. Oh, it's all written down. I will look at it in the next 1 year or in the next 1 month. No, make sure that you set a timeline, a deadline to you actioning those points. It is crucial for you to clear your mind. Okay. Now, you also need to choose the right time. Have a time scheduled on your calendar to clear all the things that you need to do. Really have that in place. Okay. Whether it's a paper calendar or a digital calendar, actually put something in there. Okay. Note something down. And I'll just give you an action point. Note down a time for you to think about your gathering points and try to declutter. Okay, that's something that you can take away as an action point for today. Okay, really important that you put every single thing down. You could have paper planners as well. Some people do have paper planners. That also could help you to put everything in perspective, and you're able to deal with all of those things. If you're very good with digital calendars, I would advise that you color code them, so you don't have a lot of things and then you're losing, you're losing track of what exactly do I need to do and how. And it is important that you automatically clone them. So you automatically pair it up with your cloud. So if you're working on the laptop, you're on the phone or any device, you automatically can see a snapshot of your calendar on the day. Okay. Don't just say, oh, it's on my iPad at home and I don't have it on my mobile device. And now that's an excuse for you to abuse time. No, have all of those things, but you have to be organized. You have to have everything all figured out. Okay. Now, it is very important that you learn how to say no. Some people don't know how to say no. They're constantly trying to be the savior of just be everywhere and do everything and be the Oliver Pope and you just want to action everything. Now it is impossible for you to do this. Okay. I would say that you need to learn how to fall in love with that word no. Okay, no. Okay, I'd like you to gain that art and master the art of saying no to others in a very graceful and tactful way. Tactful way. Yeah, I stuttered for a bit. Okay, you can do that. You just master that. Don't just go no. No, there's a way you can say no to somebody gracefully and tactfully. Okay, so you need to master that, because as you become more productive and manage your time better, others may see your success and want to participate in your projects. Okay, that's what happens when you're successful. Everybody wants to participate, and then that will cause other things that you're not prepared for, you haven't quite factored into your time to begin to eat into the time that you have. Okay. So there isn't, it doesn't mean that you cannot say no. Okay. It doesn't mean that you should always say no. That's what I wanted to say. You shouldn't always say no. Okay. But it's important for you to say no more than you often say yes. It's really important, okay? Time is finite, time is limited, and you don't have all the time in the world. So it is important for you to acknowledge that you only have 24 hours in a day. That's all you've got, okay? So your time is limited. So whenever you say yes to something, you are in effect saying no to something else. So you need to check the priority. What exactly am I doing with my time? Really important that you check this before you say yes. Okay. So, in other words, you're spreading yourself thin will sabotage anything that you are committed to do. You cannot afford to spread yourself too thin. Okay. Now, I could give you a lot of ideas about how you could do this. For example, you can request the person to email you, for example, and then you could take your time to respond to that email. Maybe someone is saying to you, "Oh, I really need to speak to you on the phone." Oh, maybe you can drop it as a message. I could read it on my own time and respond to it. So that person shouldn't just come into your day and upset everything, take over your day, and you've got something planned out and you can achieve it. Maybe that's one way you can manage expectations. Okay. Ask them to send you an email, ask them to send you a text, whatever it is they want. And then you can also see how you can figure out some of those requests and put them in your calendar. Okay. Because then this will give you more time to be able to process the requests. Okay. So don't feel guilty saying no to someone. Okay. This will then give you an opportunity to just respond to them the way and in your own time. Really, really important. I could talk for ages for this, but I will stop now. Let me just give you another one. A lot of people can say no to others, but they have a challenge saying no to themselves. So they can say no to everybody. Oh, yes, no, 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 no. So no is a powerful word. We've established that. It is a very powerful word. And this should be your vocabulary when it comes to focus. No. Many people are constantly in the habit of not saying no to, especially to themselves. Okay. So, especially for entrepreneurs, I see a lot of times when entrepreneurs or people who are in very creative field, they have many ideas, that compete for the attention. Oh, this is buzzing, that is buzzing. Oh, I think, oh, this is great. This is a fantastic idea. So, a lot of ideas. But instead of saying no to some of these ideas, they want to put all these ideas together on their calendar, right? And this is counterproductive, because then what happens is you begin to spread yourself too thin, and then you don't have the available resources to accomplish those things. Okay. So it's okay to have it on your notebook, but not necessarily now you beginning to focus on those things. So you should always find the balance, know when to say no to yourself as well. Really, really, really important. Okay. I don't know if some of the things I'm saying is actually coming through. And please, guys, if you can put some of your comments or some of your light bulb moments on the chat too, that would be great, because I would want to see some feedback as well. Okay. Now, this brings me to the final slide, and then I would wrap up and hand over to the person that is moderating for today. And that is the importance of processing. Okay. It is very, very important that we think about mastering that act of what, when, and where processing is really, really important. So when I talk about processing, is the act of deciding what the next step is, when you're going to do it, and where its home is. Okay. This is so important. Okay. The what's, the when, and the where the processing is going to occur is at the heart of helping you to master your time. Okay. So you need to be able to analyze. I've shared a couple of things before now. So you need to be able to analyze those things instantly and find it and try to identify what is going to be my next step. And your next step is to find out what, when, and where the processing system is to take one item from your approved gathering points. Okay. Remember that the approved gathering point is one of those places that I mentioned initially. So anything that is on your resolved list should be where something that is unresolved should be put on your gathering point. Okay. So when it comes to time to process, you will just pull out one item and then you process that item before you go to the next. Okay. So if you pick up two or three items, or halfway towards you picking up one item, you stop and pick up another. Then what you're doing now is that you're switch tasking. You're no longer focused. You're no longer trying to process effectively. You're already switch tasking. And that's not what we want. Okay. So you need to pick one item and ask yourself the question, what is my next step for this item? Okay. Meaning, what step must I take to move this thing towards completion? Not just to move it forward a bit, towards completion. The second question to ask yourself is when will this thing be done? It's really important to identify that. Meaning, during my available time, when should I take that step to get this thing done? Should I do it now? Should I do it later? When is the time? And then finally ask yourself the question, where is the home for this thing? Meaning, where does this thing belong? Which file should I put it away? Should I stuff it into the drawer? Should I throw it away? Maybe it doesn't even belong anywhere. Maybe I need to shred it. Maybe that's what it is. So get in the habit of asking yourself these three questions every single time you pick up an item during the day. Okay? Because a lot of ideas will come at you, but you need to think about, how can I put them either on my calendar or on now calendar or my future calendar. Okay, it is really important you ask yourself these questions. Now with this, I'm going to wrap up for today, and I hope you all really enjoyed this. This is just a snippet. I tried to cover so much, but I hope you found it of value. And I would stop sharing now, and I would hand over to the moderator for today's event to take on the reins. You're on mute. You're mute. We can't hear you. Please.
Okay, I said that was a very, very insightful session. I know that a lot of people can attest to that. So if you know that you've learned one or two, just drop it in the comment section. And while we do that, Dr. Amarachi, there were a few questions for you. One of which is, how do we know what to put in our gathering point? Right? So we gather a lot. So many things just come to our mind. We gather. How do we know what to gather and what not to gather? Maybe it could help us from being overwhelmed with sorting or decluttering or doing whatever it is that we need to do. So I don't know if you're here to answer that question.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Sorry, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So remember when I talked about time and I said it is really important to identify your MVA. Really important. What is your most valuable activities? There are a lot of things we put on our to-do list every single day that, if you really sit down and make a real assessment of the things that you have actually penciled down, you'll find out that some of them do not necessarily belong there now. And that's a starting point. What is your most valuable activity? Because what you want to do is you want to focus, and you want to focus you want to focus effectively, isn't it? Right? There's so many things
Yes.
that look good. There's so many things you can put, you can put it on your plate, and you say, oh, I'm going to do this, but you don't want to be switch tasking instead of multitasking effectively. Because a lot of times when people say, oh, I'm going to juggle this, I'm going to do this and do that and do all of this, what they're doing is just they're switch tasking. So they're not focusing on one thing, and they're not doing each one effectively. And hence they're losing time, and they're stressing themselves as well. So all of these things are related. So you're not doing it well, you're losing time, and you're exacerbating your well-being. You don't
Mm.
need that. If you tell yourself the truth, there's so many things that you're doing, you've actually put on your to-do list today. And if you look at it, you say, look, I can actually do without this because I haven't quite focused on what is most important. So, first of all, define, who are you? What are your values? And then what are the most important activities that will tie up to your values that will help you to find fulfillment in who you are as a person? So a lot of times people allow other people to fill up their time with mundane tasks and unnecessary things. So some people, I found people who woke up in a day and I asked them, "What's your day going to be like?" "Oh, I don't have any plan." "What's your 2 o'clock going to be like?" "Okay, I can do 2 o'clock." No, you should wake up every day with a plan, or else you're giving people the right to fill up your day with their own plan. And that's a waste of life. That's a waste of resources.
Mm.
So how
Very
can you
true.
do life without vision? How can you do it? So you must have a vision as either as a career person, okay? Even if you're not on a job and you're a mom, okay, you need to have a vision as being a mother. You should have a vision. It's a big deal that you're a mom. Maybe you're an entrepreneur. You say, "Oh, just I own my business. I can plan my time and do I'm the boss of my time," right? Some people do that. That's why I don't work. That's why I'm not a career person, because I'm now the boss of my time, right? Fine, you're the boss of your time, but you're just wasting resources. You're not even being productive. You're not being effective as a person, okay?
Mm.
And a lot of times, when you find people who are not productive, they're not productive with their time. They tend to waste other people's time.
Very
They don't
true.
understand the value of time, and then they are late. They barely apologize, or when they apologize, they do it in a, "You should understand, what's the big deal, it's just 2 minutes late, it's just." But you don't understand the value of time. And this is one thing, especially in our community, something that needs to be taught, because people feel that you're being a bit of a European when you talk so much about time management. No, that's just a waste of life. That's what you're doing. You're wasting resources.
Mm.
And if you don't value your time, then please don't waste other people's time.
True.
It's really important.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mark, for going deep into it. Right. I mean, the, so one thing I know that I've learned from you is being deliberate about your 24 hours. So you should wake up with a plan. I know that a lot of people struggle with having to plan, especially entrepreneurs, right? To plan, have a schedule and work with that schedule. Some people just end up changing and shifting things. I know that it's something that, but is there a way around the discipline of sticking to your schedule? Because I know that that's one thing that affects productivity. Because if you shift something that is not, if you tamper with a timing or any time or any activity on your plan for the day, it can affect every other thing. So if you laze around when you're supposed to do something, maybe for 2 hours, you end up using 4 hours. You end up shifting the task that was in that 2 hours to another day, and you are not as productive as you should be. So is there any guide to it?
Well, the first thing I would say is, and this is down to people understanding the value of whatever it is they do. It can be taught, really. It's something that you have to come to appreciate, right? If you understand that I need time, and time is valuable for me to complete something. And just please let me just say it out front that I wasn't always like this, right? I wasn't always this sort of organized. Although some people who's known me before now would say, "Oh, you're Mrs. Organized, like you're always organized." And but I think now I'm more effective in terms of organizing. So it's all about, fine. If I don't do this task, what's going to suffer? So I give you an example as a mom, right? I need to have my 7 days a week planned. So the school run needs to be done. The cooking needs to be done. Not that my spouse doesn't help, he helps, right? But this is something I'm committed and I need to go to work, right? So my time is finite. But what I do then is to position what I need to complete every single day, and I have to stick to it, because if I don't, something will suffer for it. And if people don't realize that this is what happens, you begin to, a lot of things will begin to fall through the cracks, and you would not be able to meet up with some deadlines. Okay. And if you understand this, some people don't care. Some people just carry on and, just hope that things will be okay and all that. But if you don't care about it, then you wouldn't make deliberate steps towards, taking action. But if you do care about it and you really want to be effective, you will make deliberate steps towards making it work. Okay. So I cannot say, for example, and again, there's a lot of things I do as a woman. I do a lot of bulk cooking, right? So I cook in bulk. I can cook like for 2 months, and I'm storing it up, soup, stew, everything. Like I do that. The reason is because I know that maybe I need some time saved up for something that I might not have the time to do the day to day. You're smiling, but that's what it is. But some people might say, okay, I don't do that. Maybe I outsource the cooking. Some people might decide to outsource it to someone else and say, okay, I'm going to get somebody else who's going to be cooking these and, sending it to me every week. It's still okay. But it's you see now, what I'm trying to drive is the intention. The person is presently planning. So,
Yes.
however you want to do it, you have to be intentional about your time.
Yes.
And it's only you who can manage your time. Nobody can do that for you. Nobody. It's just
Yes.
like waking up and eating. I can't eat for you, Kenny. Can I? Can I eat and then you're filled, you're satisfied? The same applies to time. I can't. I can't manage somebody else's. I can show you what to do, but you need to take the action. You need to be, deliberate about what you do with your time.
Yeah, because I know that some people listening that have this what will I say, that are guilty of this, right? They might be thinking, how do I unlearn? How do I unlearn what I do before, and how do I do things differently? But I believe that you've been able to drop on a two tips. Firstly, you have to be intentional about it. You must now stop those things that you used to do before deliberately. It might take some time, which I know, because I know that at some point too, I also struggled with time management, and I'm getting better daily. So deliberately doing that. And another thing, like you said, is learning to say no to self and to other people. And a question that dropped on the chat is, how do you say no immediately? Because we were talking about having to tell the person to send emails. If it's not an email situation, if it's not a call me later situation, how do you say no
Okay,
gracefully, like you mentioned?
gracefully. One of the things I tend to do is, can I have a think about what you've just said to me now? Can I have a think about it? Can I think about it a bit? I'll get back to you in a moment. That's what I do. And see, look, you shouldn't allow people to, what's the word now, to barrage you and get you to be impulsive. No. And look, I'm not saying that I've always been like this, but that was something I learned to do. So in one way to say no gracefully is, let me have a think. I'll get back to you on that one. Just give me a couple
Mm,
of minutes to have a think. And because you don't want what people tend to do is they allow themselves to be put under pressure of the moment, and they think they are forced, they are compelled to respond.
mm,
No, it's not. It's your choice. It's your choice. And I understand, culturally speaking, it's difficult for somebody to say that to another person, but I think
exactly.
that is something we also need to unlearn. Okay. And for me, I don't demand it from somebody to tell me no. I would always say to you, let me know what you think. You can get back to me, have a think and get back to me on that. I always do that because I don't want to barrage somebody's space and I don't know what the person has got planned out. So if someone is saying to me, I'm going to do something for you, I'm just asking, the person says to me, oh, I'm going to do it for you in the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I will just quickly send you that email with the attachment or whatever it is. Man, that's for me, that's huge. And I'm always so appreciative. But some people would just see it as that's not a big deal. No, it's a big deal. That's somebody's 2 minutes of their life, and they've just decided to give it to me. They gifted me that. That's a big deal. And again, it's all the attitude around time. A lot of people don't have good attitude towards time. It's like I expect it or I deserve it or I demand it. No, people gift it to you, and you should appreciate it when people do that. And it's all about the philosophy and our mindset around time and time management. I think this is a whole different conversation, but that's something again that we really need to do, and we really need to think about as well. But just to answer your last question, the slide I talked about, the approved gathering points. If one can actually squeeze whatever you do into those sort of 5 6 gathering points, then I think you should be fine. That's a good start. And then little by little, Rome was not built in a day, but little by little you begin to work on it and um, prioritize your task. But don't wake up every single day and go out blank, not having a plan. That's not good. It's not allowed. You must always have a plan.
Uh, it reminds me of a mindset of some people that they believe they just accept whatever the day brings. So they don't plan their day. Whatever the day throws at them, they just accept and live their life that day. So they do that daily. And I was going to ask a question because we're entrepreneurs here. I don't know if you have any question, our audience, you could drop it in the chat box. But there's a question of if you are not the one now, so I'm a CEO, I am productive, I have the culture of being productive. How do I train my employees? What's the starting point of being productive as an organization, as a company, when some people in your team don't understand this culture? How do you inculcate that culture?
I think it begins from the onboarding. That's the first place to start. You need to communicate that culture, communicate your value. That this is not just something, it's not just a smoke screen. This is a fundamental part of your business organization, right? And it has to be communicated. But again, it's how are you communicating it? When are you communicating it? Some people wait until people have been onboarded. And again, as a small business owner, in most times you're getting people to volunteer, and then you're not really, oh, they're just helping, and then later on they become a part of the organization, and now one begin to communicate those things. They're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, I joined this organization for the past 1 year, 2 years. Why am I just getting to know about this now? So that's also part of being intentional. Okay. So I always say, I mean, you want to build a business, a phenomenal business, and you want to be successful at building that business. However, you see that business, and it's also down to your what you see. Because some people they don't have a dream for their business, right? They don't have a dream. And that's why when they start their business, they start it shoddy. They do it just anyhow. Let's just be doing it and let's see how it evolves. No, you should have a mental picture of excellence, a mental picture of where you want. And this will all be fed into your values. And you have to communicate that to your staff members and get them to understand the importance of time. So, what does time mean? Because again, you have to break this down. You have to explain it to them as training in a training session or whatever. What does the time mean to you as a CEO? What does it mean to them? What does it mean to the other stakeholders? So, customers. When you talk about time management, so time management to a CEO is different from a time management to customers. Customers are like, when I order and you're telling me it will be with me in 24 hours, then that for them, if you haven't nailed that brief, then you don't manage time well, right? So you need to communicate the different interpretation of time management and understand and make them understand the fundamentals of it, because some people don't. You need to train them to understand it, and you have to start early, not late. Because once you leave it too late, then some people feel like they're doing you a favor. And sometimes it's difficult to correct a lot of things when you begin to introduce them later on in the business.
Mm, very correct.
So
Very
the stage of ideation is really important. A lot of times, entrepreneurs ideate their business. They're only thinking the product or the service. They're only focused on that. How do I launch this service? How do I launch this product? End of. They are not ideating the process. They are not ideating the policies. They are not ideating the philosophy, the culture. They are not ideating all of that. So it's a total package. You have to ideate everything because it has to feed back. If you have a culture, you want to build a culture of excellence, then you have to that feeds into everything, not just the product. but the process, the feel good experience, the unboxing experience, and even if it's a service that, how do they, you need to leave them better, right? So all of that needs to be fed into the whole incubation period of the business, not left towards the end when you have scaled up or when you've launched the business.
Yeah.
Consistent. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mark, for this session. And I think that this, what you just explained now, you can also use it. You can apply it for employee to employee. If I'm an employee and there's a fellow employee that is not productive, I can use some of these tips to help that person and help ourselves such that we are productive. I don't know. I can't see any other questions on the chat, but it has been a very insightful session, I must say. A lot of take homes, a lot of tips. And I know that there are so many more things that you've not shared with us. So we might have a class two, a practical class two. So if you want to be a part of the practical class two, you can just stay glued to the social media handle of Amigre Foundation. That's where we share information on what classes we're having next and what information you need to know about the organization. And for Amigrate, we do a lot of things, not just seminars. There is also the I Tried project, and that's not the case here. That's not why we're here, but this is the Tribe seminar series. And if you would like to be a part of the community, so the name of the community is Tribepreneur. So we are thriving entrepreneurs. You can just register to be a member of Amigrate Tribepreneur. Okay, and you can just look out for the information on how to join or how to be a member. Yes, it's absolutely free. You don't have to pay, and the only thing you will pay is your commitment. So you are coming with a ready mind. I am going to be intentional about it. So it's a community of intentional entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, but the male in our midst can come for our seminars, but for the community, for females, the community is intentional about the female community. And we have our next class that's going to be in December, our next event, seminar event, and we are going to be talking about strategies, how to plan and how to create winning strategies for 2022. It's not news again that we have just 1 month to the end of 2021, and you don't want to launch into 2022 without great strategies. So if you know any friend or anybody that would like to be a part of this, it's a free community, but our seminar is paid for. Like this strategy session is paid for. So it's a more or less you're not paying because it's a token, and that's your commitment towards growth, towards like I'm intentional about 2022. For more information, you can check Ami Grace Foundation on Instagram and Facebook, on LinkedIn, whatever platform you are on. There'll be more details on how to be a part of that class in December. We have a specialist, a sales specialist, and a strategist coming to teach us. It's going to be a very, very practical session. That is why it's not open. It's a paid for session because we want that everyone that will be a part of that session is going to be deliberate and intentional about making sure that they use everything that they've learned in that session. And I think that would be all for today. Like, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Amigate Foundation. We share a lot of information, a lot of tips for entrepreneurs and intending entrepreneurs. We also do not leave the employees out. So employees too can learn from some of the things that we post, content that we post on the page too, on the pages too. So our handle is Amigate Foundation on all platforms. Amigate Foundation, AMYGRACE Foundation on every platform. So thank you all for being a part of this event. I'm very sure it was a 1 hour, almost 1 hour 30 minutes well spent. If you know that you've learned so many things from this session, you could just drop them in the comments. Let's know one or two things. What was the highlight of the session today for you? You could just drop it. Oh yes. So I can see a comment, very insightful session. Yeah. Another comment there too. That was a great session, very practical with a number of action points. Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. And I encourage everybody to make sure that they are intentional about changing what needs to be changed where productivity is concerned for you, your time management, whatever it is that you need to do, be intentional about doing that from today, not tomorrow, from today, so that you can be more productive. You can do a lot of other things. And you can intentionally multitask, not the other way around. So what we used to do before is not multitasking. So you should be very, very intentional about being productive. My name is Kenny Shubawale, and thank you, Dr. Amarachi Amaogo, for this wonderful insightful session. Till we meet again, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.